Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to touch base with you guys today because we just finished week 3 of our homeschool year, and I was gonna do every other week, but after this week I was like, we need to talk about this. Alright, so if you watched my last video, I was all like rainbows and sunshine, and I had a really great first 2 weeks of school. And this was our 3rd week of school, and it was good. I don't want to like put a bunch of mud on all of the good that actually did happen during our school week, but there was a couple of things that I really wanted to get on and just chat about so that those of you who are going through a homeschool journey as well might be able to relate with me and then just, you know, not feel like you're by yourself, okay? So first and foremost, in my last video, I didn't mention how our like core curriculum was going. I kind of just sped through our binder and I didn't really like look into it. So that was my mistake. I'll make sure and do that from here on out, especially since that's what the core of this video is going to be about. So we are using the Horizons curriculum. Again, check back on those curriculum videos if you haven't seen what I've chosen for our school year. I'll throw in, if you're new, we have a 1st grader and a preschooler. So this particular video is primarily my 1st grader, as my preschooler will not start for another like 2 weeks or so. Anyway, so we are using Horizons. Let's start with math. The math is actually going really well. I don't have anything really negative to say about it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it last year, so I have the same feelings that I did for their level K that I do for their level 1. The first several lessons I felt were a good review, and since then we've just kind of continued to review and build on. Maybe these math concepts are very easy for me to understand, things like greater than, less than, equal to, not equal to, larger and smaller, so like measurements, and really simple addition problems. So, oh, and time, they've just been doing the hour as a review. So I remember in my videos last year, I was like, whoa, now we're doing quarter hour and then half hour, and I was like all in a tizzy about it, but we're back to just doing 60 minutes is an hour, and so, but they'll put like, I don't know, 12 or 15 clocks on his lesson page, and he just needs to tell the time for each of those, but they're all to the hour. So 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So anyway, it's good and it's easy, and maybe that's why I like it. So anyway, that's math has been going great, and I don't have anything to say about that. English, however, we shouldn't be surprised, because in my videos last year when I did level K, I felt I had the same, I always had something to say about English, and so that's where we are now. Okay, first, we are falling behind in our lessons from what I had planned over the course of the year. Anyway, I talked about how I plan our school year, and I talked about how I go through all of the curriculum and plan lesson 1 all the way to lesson whatever, however many lessons are in that curriculum, to make sure that I can finish everything before our final day of school. And for English, that meant that we had to do a lot of front loading and then 4 lessons every week until we get to the end. Well, the first part of the curriculum was a very good review, and I was feeling really good about it. The first 2 weeks were things like beginning sounds, ending sounds, vowel sounds, that sort of thing. So it was a really great review. And then they started throwing in like punctuation, like just periods, exclamation points, and question marks. And anyway, it was very smooth and very simple. Well, we hit last week, and I don't know what happened, but I felt myself wanting to quit. I wanted to like tap the brakes and be like, can we go back to reviewing? Reviewing was easy and comfortable, and this is like getting to be really thick and confusing and hard. So we started doing plurals, and instead of just the rule where we add an S to the end of almost all English words, they threw in all of the exceptions. So we started doing ES, which comes at the end of words that have CH, SH, SS, and X. And then they threw in, well, if there's a vowel and a Y, then you just add S. And then if there's an F and an E or an F, then you add VES. Anyway, I was like, oh my gosh, how do I teach this and how do I keep them all straight? and I was just feeling really overwhelmed. So we spent one day doing that, and then we jumped into the lesson. I did like a teaching thing, and then we did the lesson, and my son was just kind of like, I don't know, I just could tell that both of us were feeling, I don't know, just resistance towards it, I guess. And I was hoping that instead of doing like these 3 rules all at once, that the lesson would say, okay, let's just do this one concept. So, because like when we did the kindergarten level, all we did was learn the sound, whatever, the blend BL. All we did was learn this particular sound. And so then when we had lessons where we had these 3 kind of confusing, complicated, different rules, I was like, felt like I was tapping the brakes, like we shouldn't be doing it, not this fast. So we finished that lesson and we went on to the next day, and then the next day was suffix. And we had to learn how you drop the silent E when you add ing, es, yada, 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 and how you drop the, anyway, how you change the spelling and you add a double consonant when there's a, anyway, all of these rules, again, it was like boom, 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 all in one lesson. And I just was like, oh, hold your horses. Stop. What are you doing? So I backed away, took a breath, and re-taught the lesson the next day. We went back to plurals. So we did plurals Monday, suffixes Tuesday, then on Wednesday we went back to plurals when I should have continued moving forward. And that was really against my teaching nature. It was really against my calendar nature. And last year I didn't ever like have this problem where I felt like the concept wasn't being taught. We just kind of kept plowing through. In fact, we would like skip a bunch of activities in each lesson because I felt like it was so redundant. And anyway, anyway, so I had a moment where I was like, this isn't gonna work. We gotta figure something else out. After contemplating on it, sleeping on it, chatting about it a little bit with my husband, I came to the realization, this like aha moment where maybe it was a reminder. It's not like I hadn't thought of it before, but I'm not in public school. I'm not my public school teaching self. There's not a benchmark that I have to meet or a test coming from the district saying your kid has to know these by the end of this time frame. And it's okay if you teach a lesson more than one time. It's okay. It's okay if I'm 5 lessons behind where my master plan said I was going to be. Yes, does that mean that in May when I want to finish school, we're not going to be finished? Yeah, probably. But who's to say that we're not going to go through the lesson material and I'll come across a review where I can just like toss it out and be like, I know that my son has this concept. We don't need to practice it again today. So it was a good realization for me. And I pass that realization on to you as encouragement, as a reminder, as motivation maybe, that if you're feeling this pull to race towards the end of the school year, or the end of the school year is this like brick wall that you have to be finished by this time, or you know, maybe you have a big vacation or a break coming up that you want to like, oh, we got to be finished with lesson number such and such before this time. Relax, take a breath, and it's okay to teach the lesson more than once. And that's what I did last week. And by the time the week ended, which is today, I just really was feeling a lot more at peace with the lesson material and the curriculum, and feeling like, okay, we can do this, and it's just gonna take more than racing through the lesson and having like a 10 or 15 minute lesson on one concept. It's really going to take some time, because I do want to spend a chunk of time learning one rule and then practice that rule before I build on top of it with, okay, and by the way, if you see these letters together, then it's going to be a completely different story. For me, that's confusing, so I just was like, anyway. So that's where we are with English. Reminder to myself, take a breath, step back, it's going to be okay. Another thing that I wanted to touch on in this week's video is our reading program. So I'm doing the Huckleberry Finn story, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and it's the classics version. And then I purchased this lap book printables from Confessions of a Homeschooler. I love, love, love this story. It's going very well. I'm doing it as a read aloud, so my son's not reading it, I'm reading it to them. We read it during lunch. We have this like lunch and literature, whatever. So I read that to them during lunch. He listens really well, and then we do the chapter mini book when we finish the chapter. So this is what I have to say about the chapter mini books. Again, they're created by Confessions of a Homeschooler. I purchased it because it was already finished. The mini books are really cute. The little graphics that are on the mini books are very good. They go along with the chapters really well. The questions, however, that she provides as a part of a review for the chapters, some of them are great. Others of them, I kind of feel like, I don't know. And some of them, I'm, as an adult who read the chapter, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is for that question. So I don't know. I've never been an English teacher, and so I don't know the background to all of that information, but I do understand reading comprehension and writing comprehension questions. So I have gone in and actually rewritten many of the questions that went with her whatever this is called, her lap book. Now, so would I recommend this product? Yes, I would say do it because A, it's really inexpensive, but the work is done for you, and that is where the value is, because all of these like little tiny books and making these books take quite a bit of time. They're very labor intensive. So it's nice that it's already done and the creativity is finished for you, so you can have different shapes and whatever for the actual comprehension part. Grade-wise, again, my child's a first grader. I don't know if it's like super beneficial for him. I think like a verbal reading comprehension would be just as sufficient. He really loves coloring, so that's fun for him. But as far as like, I don't know, I think maybe first grade might be a little bit young for this type of reading comprehension product. But that being said, I love it. And he doesn't hate it, so that's why we're still gonna make it. We'll finish it up. And I made a lot, we're gonna finish this book a lot faster than I thought, so I have another book that we're going to do before we pick up, oh, I just hit myself, before we pick up the last book that I have. So I got this book, and then I got Gulliver's Travels, but we're gonna put one in between. Over the Hills to Nugget is the book that I've just finished, and I'm making a lap book for that too. So I did wanna chat about that. Is there anything else? I'm looking at this chart here. I wanted to make sure that I covered all of the subjects. We're doing the geography book. Check that video that I did, the curriculum video, so you can see that. And it's super duper duper easy. My son really enjoys the coloring aspect of it. The questions are very, very simple, but they do correlate really well with what we were doing in our history as far as just learning about maps and the globe and the earth and the continents and the world and all that stuff. So that was beneficial and good. I'll touch really quick on science. So we're doing space science from the good and the beautiful. We've just finished chapter 1, and I'm gonna be honest, and it might be kind of mean. I don't mean to be mean, but I don't know, I just felt really confused by it. In the way, like, I have read that lesson probably like, I don't know, 5 times. I felt really familiar with it. But when I went to teach it, I didn't feel like I could have a conversation with my student. I felt like I was like, hey, let's read this segment, because it was like, you know, 4 paragraphs or whatever. It was like a big segment that I had to read to him. And anyway, so then we just ended up doing like flashcards of the planets and introducing what the solar system was and drawing a picture of the solar system. So as far as like the lesson material went, I didn't feel like I actually followed it very well, mostly because I didn't feel like it, I don't know why. Maybe it was fine, but maybe I was overwhelmed this week because of what was happening with our English and our math. So math was fine, but the English was really overwhelming, so maybe that's why when I jumped into science, which I've never really taught space science before, I kind of felt this like dissatisfaction about it. So I had the like little cards, and they're back there. Anyway, I just had like little flashcards, and we learned about each of the planets and put them in order with this, like in relation to the sun. So it went well, it was fine, but I'm looking forward to chapter 2. I'm hoping that it'll be a little more interesting, interactive, and actually teach it instead of feeling like, well, just kind of like presenting information to him. Maybe that's the difference, is I felt like I really enjoy presenting the information and having this big like experience of learning about something, kind of something hands-on, something, that sort of idea, and I didn't feel like I had that. So anyway, that was that. I'll touch really briefly on history. We finished up our unit. Chapter 1 was about the world, and at the end we just learned about how different people live in different areas and live their cultures differently. So we wear different clothes, we eat different food, yada, yada, yada. And my husband and I have been out of the country in various places. My husband was in Brazil for 2 years for his church mission. We went to Peru about 2 years ago. I've been to Europe and several countries in Europe. So anyway, I have a lot of things, so we just kind of used those, they're not artifacts, they're really just like touristy things. Anyway, so we just kind of showed all of that kind of stuff about how they lived. And then we had a cultural dinner last night where we went to the grocery store. We have kind of like an international market in this particular grocery store. So we picked up like sushi, and then we got like frozen cheese bread that my husband ate all the time while he was in Brazil. And then we got some chow mein to like represent the Asian culture a little bit, and rice. Anyway, so it was really super simple, but just kind of an idea of cultures, and we like looked at pictures of what other people wore. So anyway, it was a good like little introduction that not everybody lives the way that we do in neighborhoods that look like ours and that sort of thing. So it was a good little lesson. So anyway, that's my update for week 3. I really wanted to check in. I was gonna do every other week, but I knew I needed to check in now while this was still fresh on my mind and I was still kind of getting off of this wave of feeling overwhelmed with how our week went. And there really was a lot of good to this week as well, but I'm interested to see. I have one more week of just our family, and then my preschool will begin, and so our lesson time that I've been having every morning will go away, because I will then have my students from the neighborhood in. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out, because I really have utilized that to teach the lessons. So when we don't have that anymore, I'm curious how that's going to pan out. We'll have to see. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you found some bit of information in this useful or encouraging. Oh, I can hear the baby, so I've got to run. But if you have not subscribed to my channel, I do these videos on our homeschool weeks and how things are going. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and we will catch you in another one. Bye, guys.